Big January transfer deals for Manchester United on the cards, potentially. Semenyo Guehi. Have we forgotten about the midfield already in January? Seems like so. We're going to get into all the good stuff. Zirkzee, should we sell him? Are we, just not cutting our losses here? Some fans arguing, he doesn't really fit in Amorim's system. Other people sort of upset because they do like him. They do view him as technically gifted. They like his style of play, but they find it hard to see how he actually fits into Ruben Amorim's current system and team. And there's been more reports about him potentially going to Italy. So we're going to get into a wide range of stuff. We're going to have a full debate. My name is Eric. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Hope everybody is doing well. Please smash the like button. Get that done, people. It is important to the channel. Help more Reds get here and view this video and live. And make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates and you are here from the very beginning. DJ Darkest Night is with us. And it says, hi, man. How are you? Are you good? I'm good. Hope you're doing well. We're going to get into these updates going on. Sort of a January transfer explosion. I will just start off by saying, I've seen a lot of reaction in the fan base over the past, today and yesterday surrounding the Semenyo thing. I still hold the opinion that I am still quite worried that we may potentially not be getting a midfield target in January when I think that we need one. And, I like Semenyo. I think he's good. I just don't know if that should be our priority in the window. I don't necessarily agree with that. I do trust Ineos and sort of their planning. There's been some reports coming out, from the other day that I do quite like, that goes into what we've been talking about on this channel for quite some time, is that, Manchester United will no longer be looking to do deals like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, like Cristiano Ronaldo, like Rafael Varane, like Casemiro, which I think is a big, huge indication, of that we're heading in the right direction. Those deals were horrible for us. They were terrible for us. And they have led to part of the problem of where we are as a football club. We suffered because of those deals. They were really bad football deals. Whether you like the players or not, they were bad football deals. And we shouldn't be doing those deals anymore. And, getting a brief coming out from the club, it looks like we're not going to be doing that. So that I'm highly encouraged about. I'm happy that the club is looking to spend money better in better ways. I don't think people should misconstrue that, we're not going to spend money, because we're looking to cut top earners and stuff like that or anything like that. I think it's just about spending the money smarter, better. I don't think it means that we're going to be spending less money. We're just going to be spending it in a better way. Stephanie is here. How you doing, Steph? Hope everything is well. Says, yo, Eric Legend. What's up, Steph? You're a legend yourself. Lecha coming back, she says, is like a new signing. Please stay fit. I hope so. And DJ says, Eric, I'm not excited about either in the window, to be honest. Well, fair play. Let's get into it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it and break it down. So let me get the news and pull it up. So Antoine Semenyo. No agreed deals, but he has a 65 million release clause active in January. In the summer, it will be less than 65 million. I don't think we have the reported number exactly. Manchester United are keen and see him as a versatile winger/forward option. Liverpool viewed as the front runners on this one, but United are one to watch if price/opportunity drops. Nathan Salt saying that Antoine Semenyo is one to watch, even if Liverpool are viewed as front runners. And, I think, listen, Semenyo, if you can get him to play left wing back, because I think that's where he would play. I think that's where many people are expecting him if he comes to Manchester United to fit into Ruben Amorim's system. He would be similar, and I've been saying this for quite some time. I do believe this. We need another Amad Diallo, in that we need somebody that is more attack-minded first than defensive. We need somebody that, in terms of that position, that knows how to cross the ball, can shoot, can score from that position, create more opportunities, actually create big opportunities and chances instead of somebody trying to learn that, which is what we have now. Because what we have now on the left-hand side, while I don't dislike Dorgu, he's still very rough around the edges, and he does well to get in forward spaces, and he does well with the dribbling part. Some of his decision-making is still very poor, and he needs to work on that. And then, obviously, his end product, his final product, crosses into the box, passes in and around the area. They are very lackluster. They are very lacking in execution. Obviously, somebody like Antoine Semenyo, to me, he's very similar in a way to Amad Diallo. They are attack-minded first. They are attacking players. He can track back. He has a good work rate. And he can create opportunities going forward, and he would probably fit on the left-hand side. I don't see him playing in the 10, and I don't think he would be a striker. So, Steph says, love the new studio, by the way. Thank you, Steph. Appreciate it. We are always trying to improve on this channel, so we are making small but strides. Semenyo's contract at Bournemouth includes a £65 million release clause. It must be triggered by a set date. The clause applies again in the summer, but at a lower price. That is from David Ornstein this morning. And one of the updates that we did get, that I did see, is that Manchester United apparently are not really looking to bring in a midfielder in the January transfer window. This update coming from Rob Dawson, ESPN, earlier in the morning this morning, saying United have no intention to sign a midfielder in January. They'd rather sign one or even two of the top targets in the summer. Obviously, those top targets are Baleba, Wharton, now Himland, and Elliot Anderson. The prices here given, I guess, are open to interpretation, or maybe not completely set, but Baleba 60 million, Wharton 60 million, Himland 50 million, and Anderson 45 million. I don't really know where they got, I don't know where Rob Dawson's really getting these prices, because we've seen them quoted at way higher. Baleba at 100, Wharton at 100, Himland probably for around that price, and Anderson for 100. So it's a bit interesting. Steph says Semenyo could be a Sadio Mane type player, was a great worker from the front for our deadly rivals, but central midfield mess needs treatment first and foremost. Casemiro gets injured, we struggled. I do agree, Steph, again. Now, we only have, realistically, I think we need to take this full-fledged on. Usually I say let's take it with a grain of salt, but I think we need to take this as sort of, facts. I think that Ineos, and I think that Manchester United, and maybe even Ruben Amorim, I don't really know where he stands on this, but I know Ruben wants squad depth, and that's why he's advocating for players like Zirkzee and Man Utd to stay. But I think that the concrete plan, and I believe this update from Rob Dawson, that United do not really have an intention to sign a midfielder in January, and that is because they are unable to get the likes of Baleba, Wharton, Himland, and Anderson. Now, I've been saying United cannot afford to necessarily stand still in the January transfer market just because we can't get these targets. I'm not saying panic and sign some random midfielder for the sake of signing a random midfielder, because that's what we've done in the past, and we can't really, we shouldn't be doing that, and we can't afford to do that anyway, and that's just a stupid and dumb move. We should not be doing that at all. Now, there's still the likes of Joe Gomez and potentially maybe Conor Gallagher that are available. Now, Joe Gomez would run us in, for a fee of about 44 million. But I think if you ask Manchester United fans, when you say the likes of Baleba, Wharton, Himland, and Anderson, and then you say João Gomez, I don't think many fans hold João Gomez on sort of the same level as these other four players. And I think in terms of Manchester United, I think João Gomez and even Conor Gallagher, but Conor Gallagher is a bit different because there's a potential to do a loan, which we won't be tied down to. So I kind of want to put him in sort of a separate bracket. But in terms of João Gomez, we would have to pay £44 million for him. it's probably in a fee range that is definitely feasible to do in January. But I don't feel like he is high up on the list, which makes me feel like he's one of the lower targets. And for Manchester United, I think all of us probably want us to go out there and actually get somewhere in the range of our top 3 targets. Minimum, you would go with the top 4 target. Once you start going lower, it starts seeming a lot less, just appetizing in that. DJ says, Eric, the black shirt behind you is one of my favorite United away shirts. Slightly off topic. All right, it's all right. Gomez in January, if we must. And that's what I'm saying, DJ. And that's what I kind of feel like. Personally, that's how I feel about it. I think a lot of the fan base feels like that. And actually, I think even Ineos, our director of football and the rest of them, Favel and all of them, I think that's how they sort of, it kind of comes off like that as well, because there is a guy there available, but it just seems like he's sort of down in the pecking order, and it seems like that signing is a little bit more of a desperation signing in terms of, it feels to me more like a signing of getting a signing in for the midfield for the sake of getting a signing in the midfield, when clearly the plan is Baleba Wharton, Himlin, Anderson, those types of players, even a Stiller or maybe something like that, but he's more on the lower end. Rajat is here. How you doing, Rajat? How you doing, buddy? It's been a while. But the reason why I'm mentioning the midfield and I'm talking about the midfield is because I've said that United can't really stand still. We can't afford to stand still. Everybody's going to do some sort of business, whether it's a player or two. We're going to have to do something. Now, this Semenyo story has popped up, and he does have a release clause. The release clause is a bit, I wouldn't say expensive, but I'm talking about to spend £65 million in January when we just spent about 200 million. There is a question mark over, does United have the funds for this? Can we do this deal and still then go do a deal like Baleba Wharton, Himland, or Anderson in the summer without it having a huge impact on the summer transfer budget? Because obviously, what you don't want to happen is United potentially, maybe we do a Semenyo deal, and then, we're kind of stuck in the summer, or we have less money. Many people kind of view that we may potentially need 2 to 3 midfielders, something similar to like how we did in the 210s and then the striker. I kind of view it as the same for the midfield, in that you could get 2 midfields and sort of a center back in that case, and it would kind of be the same but the opposite, going backwards back there. So Steph says 4 likes, 7 views. Yes, get the likes in, people. Rajat says go get Quenda. Quenda's gone. Rajat says don't think Ruben leaving oil money. I don't know what that means. Steph says, is Ruben Neves better than João Gomez if you had to choose in January? I'd probably go, Steph, with João Gomez. I think Ruben Neves is, while he's experienced, I think he's definitely on the older side. I think that ship has sort of sailed. I do remember Ruben Neves being linked to Manchester United quite a lot, especially when he was at Wolves and he was in the Premier League. But he's in the Saudi League. And I think I don't think he actually necessarily fits sort of, what we've been looking at. João Gomez is a bit on the younger side. He's not that young, but he's younger than Ruben Neves. I feel like Ruben Neves is sort of finished in that aspect, and I don't think we should be in for him. So I would go for João Gomez if it was João Gomez or Ruben Neves. I think João Gomez is probably the clear player to go for. But while I feel a bit indifferent about United sort of totally ignoring the midfield to a certain extent, I don't think it's totally ignoring, because again, let's say for argument's sake, what if we were to sign Semenyo? I think it's a player that he will make an instant impact. I think it's a position that, while it has kind of been put on the back burner, I still think we need improvement there and we need help there. And maybe it was one that, for the summer that maybe could have happened because the summer we have, it's a bigger window, more options are available, and maybe we could do that. And if we have the budget and if we have a good season. But if our top targets in the midfield are not available and we can't do them, I as much as I don't like the feeling that we might not sign a midfielder, because I think we need a midfielder, and we should have signed one in the summer, and we still need one. I still go with the fact that, again, United can't stand still in the January transfer window. They have to do something, and if they have to pivot to sort of a left back or maybe a center back or some other position where there is a player available, where there is a deal that they can do and they can get done, then I would be okay with the club doing that, because at least we're not sitting on our ass doing nothing. We have to do something. So, whether the midfield will be a problem and it might hurt us, but further down the line, if you do a Semenyo deal, it's one less deal you kind of got to do in the summer, because we've covered a position. We've gotten a very good player. I rate him very highly. He is a very good player. And we did have sort of this flirtation with him in this past summer window that just happened. Apparently Amorim had dinner with Semenyo in London at the end of last season to assess his character. Barada and Wilcox were also said to have held talks with Bournemouth, with United willing to pay around £55 million. His buyout clause is only £10 million more expensive. He's having a very good season. You could probably argue that that extra 10 million is probably justified if we were willing to pay 55 million, and we have to pay 65 million in the middle of a season. That is a deal that we could be looking to do. So, Ruben's still 28, I think, or is he 28 or 29? Maybe he's turning 30. I think he's on the older side about that. DJ says, Eric, why the bloody hell don't we delve into our academy? We have some talent there, but it seems Ruben doesn't trust them. Sir Alex did. I think that the thing around our academy is, I think we have some very good young, and I'm talking about young stars, and I don't think they're ready. And I think that's probably why it seems like he doesn't trust them, because I don't think they're ready. And I think it's not just Ruben. In the past, maybe the manager was the guy that was sort of the top call. Now, obviously, he still has decision. He can, if he chooses to, call them up. But I think the general planning around them and general understanding involving Wilcox and others that are in those positions, I think they have a general consensus that they are not ready. I don't think the first team is ready. I don't think the first team is a proper place for them yet. You see our football club, you see our first team. You see that we are still sort of a bit of a mess. We still have a lot of issues to sort out. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but they've chosen to go with the more senior, experienced players and sort out the problems with them and get United on a more concrete, proper track in terms of being more informed, being more consistent, competing at a higher level. This is what they've gone with. So whether you agree with it or not, I think this is the way they've chosen to move forward. And the youth, which I don't think is necessarily a bad plan, because if it works out in the way that I think they're hoping for, the youth get to do their development in the background. They don't get to grow up too fast. And again, even with Sir Alex, while he did trust the youth, he didn't just jump into the youth immediately. There was a plan around them. It did take some time for them to come through. We got maybe a good fortune, or, maybe we were right on the money, but with that crop of talent that we got at that time, all around the same time. But there was sort of more of a team being formed and a base. It didn't happen immediately when Sir Alex walked in. And I kind of look at United's situation, what we've been for the past 10 to 12 years, the suffering we've had, the lack of, success, and the lack of being an actual good team. I kind of see how and why they're not really going full force on this youth thing. Also, I mean, this season, again, we don't have many matches to really give them opportunities. We're struggling to get in players with more football experience than them into the team. So there is really a lack of opportunities this season anyway. So maybe next season there'll be a bigger push. I mean, it'll be a year on. Some of them are on loan. Some more of them will go on loan in January. If they have good loans, maybe opportunities arise for them next season. But yeah, I mean, just sort of jumping back into here real quick. Even Sky Sports News saying Manchester United are keen to make a January move for Antoine Semenyo. Many people are very excited. They want him at this football club. They want him to come in. And again, the way I look at it sort of right now at this moment in time is, and maybe it's like this and maybe it's not, and I guess there's arguments for both sides, but I kind of feel like the general feeling I'm getting from this is, do you get Semenyo or do you sort of do nothing? Because again, I agree with everybody that has concerns about the midfield, but I've been arguing for Manchester United to do things proper for so long, and I do really believe that when as soon as we start operating properly, which I think we've definitely already begun since Ineos has come in and they've made a lot of changes, but that a lot of issues that we've seen at the football club over the past 10 years, a lot of them will get solved over time, and it's going to take some time, and you still need to get the correct calls on these things, but a lot of the problems that we faced over the years is because of bad recruitment, bad planning, bad ideas, bad execution of these said plans. If we even had plans at all, I felt like at times Manchester United didn't really have a plan. They didn't really have an idea or a direction of where they were going, and they were kind of just winging it and making rash sort of panic decisions. And I think that's hurt us monumentally. And with this, it's like they have a plan for the midfield, but the timing is just not one that is working out for us. Unfortunately, it's, the clubs don't want to sell the players. The players don't necessarily want to leave the clubs. There is a World Cup. It is sort of a bad, unfortunate situation for Manchester United because we need a midfielder. But the ones that we say are the best ones are the ones that are the most unavailable for us. So I feel like at this situation, you have two choices. You either go and maybe get somebody like a Gomez or something, who, in my opinion, I mean, he's sort of come out of nowhere, and I don't think he's in the top 5, but he is one that is feasible, and he is one that you can go get. But he's not at the top of the list. So you either go get somebody that's not at the top of the list, which I've seen us do before, and it hasn't worked out, because there's a reason why he's not at the top of the list. Character, attitude, ability-wise, and fit into the system. In terms of ranking. Or you go and maybe you get somebody like a Semenyo, or you do a deal for Marcus Guehi, and we're going to get into Marcus Guehi. Now, he's probably one that, maybe comes in January. Maybe it's one that ends up happening in the summer because of his contract, but yeah. DJ says, I disagree. We now have 18 academy players playing in every division in English leagues, all doing very well. I'd go academy and let's see. God help the club if we don't even get top 8. Well, if we don't get top 8, I mean, we're going to be in big trouble. I mean, we can't really afford to not have a decently good season. The goal is to get back into Europe. We need to be into Europe. Competition-wise, more matches, more chances for the players, money. There's so many implications in terms of getting into Europe. So we need that. Rajad says he doesn't want Antoine that much. Well, I mean, why? Do you not think he's a good player, or do you just think that we don't really need that sort of player for that sort of position or something like that? Axe is here. What's up, Axe? So yeah, I mean, for me, Semenyo wise, there was a whole article from The Athletic talking about this. He has a release clause that we talked about. Semenyo was wanted by United and Tottenham Hotspur in the summer. He signed a new contract until 2030, but there is a limited time release clause worth £65 million. Semenyo has recently been linked to Liverpool, Manchester City, and Spurs. Reasons for why United want him. He's an intelligent two-footed ball carrier with plenty of speed to burn. He ticks many boxes on Ruben Amorim's shopping list. Ruben is well acquainted with the goal-scoring threat of Semenyo, who scored against United home and away last season. He would ideally work as the right-sided attacking midfielder in United's 3-4-3, but can play on either wing and has the defensive acumen to adapt to one of the wing-back positions, which is what I mentioned. Amorim is fond of two-footed wide players, and there's a reason for that. I mean, he loves adaptability. He loves sort of multi-positional players because he likes to do tactical changes in the way of how things change. It's not the changing of a shape or the formation. It's about what player has what characteristics in what position you play them and how they play the game. So that does fit into what he wants. Which they go on to say here, allowing him to coach greater rotations between his front three and wingbacks in the final third, and better breakdown of stubborn defenses. Furthermore, he would fit into Ineos's recent approach to the transfer market as a young Premier League proven football player with desire to work hard in and out of possession. So he does tick a lot of boxes. I can understand why we're in for him. I can understand why he was linked to us in the summer. I can understand why we were looking at him. I can understand why we're still looking at him and still thinking about him. In general, I mean, we just did the whole attack. So the attack isn't really a focus in terms of the 210s or a striker. Those positions are done. But if you ask, I think anybody, if you look at it, United need midfielders. We need a wing back. We probably need a centre back. Those are probably like the main positions that we're looking at. So the order of priority, I think most people would put the midfield as one. But I use this reference a lot. Beggars can't really be choosers. If the midfield options aren't available, then the best option is to pivot and go for a different position that maybe isn't ranked number one, but it's somewhere that we would have to address eventually, and that we still actually need. So Marcus wants Liverpool. I heard Man United is his second. He is, supposedly. I mean, there was that whole thing in the summer window that he was potentially going to go to Liverpool. And they say the same for Antoine Semenyo, that Liverpool seems to be the top place for them to go. But that doesn't really necessarily mean anything, because we can convince them and we can make a move for them. Liverpool just spent a lot of money. I don't know if they're going to go too heavy in the January transfer window. They have a lot of new signings, and they need to sort that out. And we can make a move, and we can sort of convince them to join the project. You know, not everybody is our number one destination. They don't need to be our number one destination. They just need to buy into the project, believe in the project, and believe, and have a wanting to come to United. And if we're second, but we can make it be that, we're first by convincing them about the project and holding talks with them. When the Man United board starts sprouting word salads, we are all doomed. I don't think they're word salads. Liverpool are again in transition, like us, sadly. Well, they are in transition. They signed a lot of players. But United held talks on Semenyo before signing Brian Mbeumo, obviously. And Amorim will likely be underpowered in attacking areas following Mbeumo and Ahmad's departure for the Cup of Nations, Africa Cup of Nations. But may have to do with existing squad options within his squad rather than push for another attacker. Semenyo's best position, obviously, is, where he's playing on the wings in the attacking spot, which is where Cunha and Mbeumo play currently. Now, there is the Zirkzee thing, and we're going to talk about Zirkzee. And Zirkzee, I mean, you can make an argument, well, let's just get rid of Zirkzee and we'll get Semenyo in. Zirkzee doesn't seem to fit Amorim's system. He is technically gifted and he is good, and it's not that I don't like him or anything like that. But what I'm saying is United need to sort of sort out their situation right now. Zirkzee is down the pecking order. Now he might be given a chance and he might have a better opportunity because Šeško is out injured and he's going to be out for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll talk about that as well. So maybe, he plays, he performs, he impresses, and that gets case closed on that. But I think there is a strong argument, because many people do view that he doesn't actually fit Ruben's system. He doesn't actually have the qualities in terms of what he needs in those certain positions. He doesn't have that in his game, which is why he's fairly down the pecking order this season, because obviously the likes of Šeško at striker has better striker qualities than Zirkzee. And in the 210s, Cunha and Mbeumo are definitely ahead of him in what those positions call for. So Steph says only Casemiro can play alongside Bruno. Only if Bruno plays false 9 can we currently accommodate Meno or Ugarte with Casemiro. Mount can also play in the front 3. So I mean, that is our biggest issue, is that, only Casemiro can play what Casemiro is doing. Ugarte is supposed to be, or was supposed to be, the backup, and potentially maybe, taking that position over, but he's been very inconsistent, and even Ruben has been sort of disappointed with what he's been giving, hence why Ugarte is a substitute, and it doesn't look like he's going to be starting in that position anytime over Casemiro, unless Casemiro gets an injury, of course, and then you have no choice, really. What about Šeško? Šeško's injured. That's what about Šeško. Šeško is injured, and he's not going to be available for the next 3 weeks or so. And we're going to be taking his time. So we have a slight issue there in terms of what's going on there. But let me jump to Marc Guehi first, and then we'll just have a more general conversation. But Marc Guehi's contract enters the final 6 months in January 1st. He can sign a pre-contract abroad or a cheap deal in January. United are expected to monitor closely because we were interested in him as well as Liverpool. Centre back is on the agenda because there's the whole thing with Maguire. We don't know if we're going to extend his contract or not. Some people don't want it to happen, which is fine, and I understand that, but we don't know. It's a bit up in the air. The extension talks are kind of have stalled. And overall, in January, there's not going to be significant activity, but there could be one that happens. I mean, there is some options on the table for us. Grace here, member for 2 months. He's got the blue badge. That is the second tier badge. She says, "Yo, what's up, you scrubs?" How you doing, Grace? How you doing? Grace, what do you think about the Semenyo story? What do you think about if we end up signing him? I did see you and a couple of the other members having a chat, in the Discord today about a few things, and I thought you guys were bringing up some good points in there. And yeah, would you like to share them with the rest of the live today? I can read them out as well because actually I thought you guys were having a good conversation, and it was without me. I was busy, so I couldn't join in, but I did read them. I mean, Box bring up a good point in here, and he said it's been a tough start for Šeško, fitness from injuries, started on the bench a few times as well. This is why signing players mid-August is frustrating. I think it's a very good point. To that, in that we got him late, and no real betting time in, which is what Box said. And I even agreed with this take from what Box said. He said, from what I've seen from him before he joined, and in glimpses so far, he looks like a real upgrade of what we had last few seasons. Touch, hold up play, link play, football IQ, technique, etc. He just needs to adjust to the EPL, the pace of the league, and shedding the ring rust. And I agree, because that's kind of been my opinion on Šeško this whole time. And Grace went on to mention that people are already turning on Šeško. Those people they are people that we can't take seriously in the fan base, unfortunately. I would like to take every Manchester United seriously, but there are just people that just blurt out words and say random things just for the sake of saying them. They don't have any concrete argument. They don't provide any details or any sort of type of facts or anything like that. It's really agenda driven. They like to push hate because hate is very strong, and it gets some clicks and it gets some likes and it gets some attention. But yeah, I mean, some people might have turned on Šeško already, but who's taking them seriously? I mean, any serious fan and football fan knows that these things will take time. They have to be given the time. So I think just on the Šeško injury, it kind of just sucks for him on a personal level, and that the fact that he has been struggling a bit, and we did get him late. He didn't really have the preseason with us. Again, what I've seen from him, I know that he has it in him, that he can come good. I think he will come good, but it's going to take some more time. And him being out injured now for probably about up to a month is a real setback, because it's just taken away from time from him adapting. Now, he's not going to be able to necessarily do training. It's basically just a month of him kind of just doing nothing, which is just going to take him longer to do, to get up to speed to the Premier League and really get, caught up to that sort of stuff. So it's a bit unfortunate, but we have to make do with what we got. And I guess the good bit is that he is supposed to be back right before we lose Mbeumo Diallo and Mazawari to the Africa Cup of Nations. So, the good thing also is that it could have been way longer, could have been way more serious. It's not. A month, could be less depending on the rehab, depends what happens. Šeško is the update that we got today is Šeško back in full training in the beginning of December. So the next couple weeks, sideline around three weeks total, which is good because it could have been way worse. Initially it was anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So if it's about 3 weeks, that's good. He is sort of key to the system once he gets into the rhythm. Those long balls, him being 6'5" and him flicking them on, they do work very well. We probably need to do more of those as well, and we can't really do it with him not there. So Delo did say to me he needs someone to clean his boots. That's what you think about Semenyo? Axe, can you please... I'm going to tell you this. Can you please add realism to the conversation? I'm not going to read out comments that is just nonsense. You're talking about you're buying people in FM26 and why can't Amorim do it? First of all, that's not how our club works. Amorim doesn't have full control and power and say over the transfers. And we're in the real life world. We have a director of football. We have a technical director. We got a head of scout. It's a process. It's not a video game. You don't click 2 buttons and buy players. Why he can't buy the players you bought in your video game? Because it doesn't work like that. And we have a plan that we're clearly talking about, that we have focused on the midfield. Scalvini is some fantasy because he's not even on our radar and we're not talking about it. And it's not happening. We're focused on the news in real life, and we're focused on what's happening around the football club. Grace says I bought Baleba for 30 million on EAFC 26. Well, you know what I did? I went in and I just transferred all the players before I loaded up the save. So now I have, you know, I bring back R9 from the past. I put him on my team, and you know, I put Lamine Yamal on. I got him for free, and like, you know, I don't know. We're talking about real world stuff here. We're not talking about fantasies. So let's go into Joshua Zirkzee, because I think Joshua Zirkzee, there's probably actually a lot to sort of unpack there. In that, I'm a bit torn in sort of what to do with Zirkzee and what's actually going to happen. He's obviously, we know he's been struggling for minutes under Ruben Amorim. He's technical, but he lacks the intensity in the press, in the system, which is a problem, which is why he's down the pecking order. Cunha doesn't lack that. And Buemo doesn't lack that. And even sort of Šeško doesn't really lack that either. And he doesn't have the qualities that Šeško has. So it's quite obvious as to why he's not being really involved. Now, Roma apparently leading the race, if he is going to be sent out on loan or sold, or both. Zirkzee likes Gasperini, who wanted him at Atalanta before. He believes in the Italian coach to boost his 2026 World Cup chances. Corriere dello Sport, via Sport Witness, reported that Zirkzee wants to play under Gasperini, who is the current manager of Roma. Roma plan a loan plus option/obligation, 35 million euros. United want a dry loan only, no obligation, I guess to keep control of the situation, which I sort of agree with. I don't think we should be setting things necessarily set in stone, because I think we have a lot of wiggle room. We shouldn't sort of handicap ourselves in that situation. But Amorim reportedly has been concerned sort of about Zirkzee's mindset, and that's probably because he's thinking about the World Cup. And I think that's one argument to make, in that the other players, they are in the World Cup talks. They are playing for the respective national teams, but they are focused on Manchester United. We currently have 2 players that I don't know if they are slightly distracted in terms of that. I mean, they're not playing, so they're not playing a lot, so I understand. But the stories that come out seem to sort of give a view or a vibe that, you know, because it's constantly talked about, it seems like that they're not really... It gives off the feeling that they're not really focused on United. They're more concerned about the World Cup, which obviously for United fans and the United fan base and the United team is not necessarily a good look, because we care about our football club first. The rest is all noise or comes second. So United are apparently open to an exit if it funds other moves, but he's not sold already, and nothing has really... nothing's really set in stone yet on this Joshua Zirkzee thing. Why it would make sense, listen, Zirkzee on the ball and the link up, he's really, really good. We saw that last season. He is really nice in that sense, but it doesn't fit Amorim's high press. If you have Šeško, Cunha, and Mbeumo back, again, he ends up being 4th choice by default de facto. United don't want an obligation, because I think if he goes to Italy and he plays good and he performs well, then we're going to raise the price. I think if they were to sell Zirkzee, they would want more money for him. So they're not really in the camp of making a permanent deal right now. Fan opinion on this, again, has been sort of split. I mean, some people are saying sell him for £40 million around there and recoup and use those funds to maybe go and move for maybe like a Semenyo or something, or some other figure, or key target. Other people, they really like Zirkzee. They like, his technical abilities. And most people say, you know what, just loan him out for this season. Let him go play. And we'll figure out what to do with him in January. And maybe that's probably the most balanced and best sort of thing to do. Gray says give him game time. Well, I think with the Šeško injury, I think this is his best opportunity. And I guess we're going to find out, once we return, which is next Monday. We will be back playing against Everton. We're going to find out, I guess, more of an indication of what it's really going to be, because he probably has his best opportunity now. I mean, we're going to have to do something in terms of the attack with no Šeško. And we've seen it done before when Šeško was available and he's been on the bench. We're either going to have an attack of, Cunha, Mount, and Mbeumo, with them sort of alternating. I mean, he could go and sort of put Diallo up there as well and move him out of the right wing back position and maybe put Maz or Delo at right wing back instead. But I think this is his best opportunity in terms of, I mean, Šeško is out for the next few weeks. If he can't get more game time, if he can't, I would assume he's going to get some type of an opportunity. If he can't really take the opportunity, if he can't impress the opportunity, then I kind of just fall into the fact of, what are we holding on to him for? Just send him out on loan and sort of be done with it. Because I think if you can't sort of take this small window, this small opening, then I don't see how the rest of the season would go well for him. And I don't see, if United do decide that, ultimately that they want to sell him, I don't see how that's going to help us in getting a better transfer fee if he's barely playing for the rest of the entire season. So it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens, with United in this period, because there is a bunch of different sort of ways that this can go. I think a move that you could do, if there is a fee for him and he doesn't really fit the system, you sell him and you go and get somebody like maybe a Semenyo, who clearly fits the system much better and can play in a bunch of different positions, and is versatile in that way. So but I will say on the January sort of thing as well, I mean, to me, it's an indication of what we're getting right now, the news and the updates. To me, it is an indication that we do have proper targets. We have real targets. This is sort of new to Manchester United in terms of, think pre-Ineos and think about every January transfer window we had. They were all shit. They were all terrible. They were all panic. There was no real plan. There was no ideas. It was just winging it, and they were all lackluster and shit. I mean, the feeling that the club gave us when they bring in the likes of Wout Weghorst or Igalo, the level of that was crap. It was not good enough. Didn't help us in any way. Didn't make a difference. They were pointless and useless. We are not in that same situation now. So I'm happy about that. I'm encouraged by this. There's a lot of question marks left to be open because I still think there's many mysteries of exactly how we're going to sort of navigate this. But I don't feel like how I felt in the past, where I felt like there is absolutely zero chance United is going to do something in January. I think there is quite a high probability that we will do something, and something of some sort of significance that actually will have an impact, a positive impact, on the rest of our season and our football club going forward. Because whatever we do in January, it's not just about this season. It will be about the seasons after the season as well, and the future for this football club going forward. So, should United spend big in January or wait, I think United should spend the proper money on the proper targets. So if they are available in January, maybe it's not a midfielder, but maybe it's somebody like a Semenyo or a centre-back or something like that, then we should do those deals if we're unable to do the deals for the midfielder. If by some way or some luck, one of our midfield targets, there is a potential to do a deal for him, then obviously go for the midfield first. But if we can't do those midfield targets, I actually think that the club needs to stand firm on the plan that they have and not do what we did in the past and go sign a midfielder for the sake of signing a midfielder, because then we are going to fuck ourselves. In terms of, we will be with a player that has a higher ceiling for not working out. We would sign them to a long-term contract and we would be sort of stuck with them. Or we would have to try and sell them, and just, I feel like it would create more of a mess. We would have to try and sell them shortly after getting them in, a season or two. In the meantime, while we do that, they'll be part of the squad. We'll have to use them. They won't necessarily be performing, and then we also may potentially miss out on the other targets who clearly fit our club way better. I mean, when I think of Elliot Anderson, he fits the system and he fits this club miles ahead of João Gomez, or even a Conor Gallagher. Now, Conor Gallagher, again, different, because Conor Gallagher, there is a potential that we get him on loan. And if we get him on loan, there's nothing wrong with that. We get in a loan, we get in a midfielder, we use him. If he does well, we could potentially sign him. If not, we could just send him back and, no harm, no foul, done. So, X says, sincere comment, we need a central midfielder. I do understand that. We do. And I think everybody knows that. But the situation we find ourselves in, Axe, is that do you sign a midfielder for the sake of signing a midfielder because, like you say, we need a central midfielder? Because I don't necessarily think that's a good idea. And I don't actually think I want the club to be doing that. As much as I know that we need a midfielder, as much as I know that we need a midfielder, and as much as I know that, as much as I want a midfielder, I don't think it's good if the club go and sign a midfielder for the sake of signing a midfielder, which is what it would seem like we would be doing, because our top targets are Baleba Wharton, Elliot Anderson, and then now apparently Himland from Sporting. Now, when you analyze those player profiles, they all, 3 out of the 4 for sure, can play in the Premier League. They definitely fit Ruben's system. They definitely fit for what we're trying to do in terms of the football identity here. Himland, obviously playing in the Portuguese league, it's different because Portuguese league is Portuguese league, and then there's the Premier League. But he has played in Ruben's system before, so in that case, he should be able to fit the system. His transfer would just more be like, would he be able to perform in the Premier League? And he's not obviously Premier League proven, so there would be maybe an adjustment time to it. Can't we buy top targets? Well, let me paint the picture for you. how do you force these clubs? How do you force Crystal Palace for Adam Wharton? How do you force Brighton, or how do you force Nottingham Forest to sell us the players that they have if they are not interested in negotiating, if they are not interested in selling the players mid-January? And on top of that, the players themselves are not really interested in moving mid-season. Like, they are at a club there, and this World Cup is having an impact on this. Now, I think if the World Cup wasn't here, our chances would be much higher. But Elliot Anderson reportedly doesn't want to leave Nottingham Forest because he is guaranteed a World Cup spot as of right now. Like, he is in the squad, he is being called up, he's getting all the minutes he wants, he is one of the stars of Nottingham Forest. If he leaves, he's taking a gamble, because I don't think maybe you would necessarily say he get guaranteed to just walk into the midfield, although people would make that argument because we need a reinforcement. But there's no guarantee of that. He could come in and sort of struggle to adjust mid-season. He could fall out of form, and then he could not end up at the World Cup because there's another 6 months, well, a little bit more than that, but about 6 months. And the clubs that we're trying to buy it from, they're making it very difficult in terms of, because they are unwilling to sell in the middle of the season, and if they're going to sell, where we are right now, we are pretty much all competing in the same area. Like, Brighton view us as direct competition. For them to sell us Baleba, they want 120 million. And they don't even want to do it in January. So they're not going to be willing to really have conversations or sell the players. So your option would be to give them something stupid and ridiculous, like 150 million for a player that clearly, obviously isn't 150 million. I don't think people in the fan base, myself included, I don't think we want to do that. Why would you want the club to be overspending just to get a target in? Just to get a top target in? Why would you want to do that? We've done that before, and we know the results of that. So that's a no. So we can't force these clubs to do business. If they're unwilling to do business in January, they're unwilling to do business in January, and they're more willing to do the business in the summer when there's no season. And it'll be better for us because we can negotiate a better price. We'll have some more time, but there's the World Cup is going to be a problem for that as well. And the players will have more of a willingness as well to do the transfer. Like, Elliot Anderson obviously is going to leave. He wants a move, but he doesn't want to move now. So it would take a lot of convincing, and we'd have to be slightly fortunate or slightly lucky for something of one of these deals to pop up, which I don't think is going to happen. We have a player who's eager to play at the World Cup. He has 80 million pounds at least. His name is Semenyo. Amorim has to be smart, aka not an idiot. He is play Bruno as a 9 alongside Buenos. Play Semenyo and Casemiro. That easy. It is that easy, but you know what? If you go into the statistical data and you look at it, we haven't actually played well when Kobbie Mainoo has played next to Casemiro. And Bruno plays further forward. So I know what you're saying, and you could potentially do that. But I don't know if that solves everything, because I don't know if it would work necessarily. Again, the issue with Kobbie Mainoo is that he's weak, and we need strength there. And he's missing some other aspects that calls for that position. Now, sort of with this opportunity that we have, he could maybe do that. I mean, we are missing Šeško. And Šeško's going to be out. Could he technically move Bruno up, put Mainoo in there, play him to Casemiro, and have like sort of a front three of Mbeumo, Bruno, and Cunha? You could do that. I don't know if it would work. Bruno, for me, would probably then have to be the one on the left-hand side, clearly, because that one's more centrally. But I don't know if he's going to do that. And maybe I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's pretty much set on having Bruno playing in the midfield next to Casemiro. And, that's on him. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I mean, it's on him. It's his fault. He's the one that chose to do it. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, you could do that. But there's still no guarantee that makes us play good. It could not work. It could work out bad. Could be bad. Midfield could be just as bad. Again, I like Kobe. I think Kobe has great potential, but I do still believe that Kobe has a lot to work on, and Kobe has a lot to improve. And one of the things is that he definitely needs to be more physical for him to really steal that midfield spot. In terms of, if you look at Wharton, if you look at Elliot Anderson, they're much bigger, they're much more physical players. They can command the midfield a lot more better, and they fit that aspect, that system. They fit that aspect of the position in the system a lot more because they have more of the characteristics. They're also much more experienced. So, yeah, I don't know what he's necessarily going to do on that front, but we will see how that goes. Maz has just played 90 minutes for Morocco. Once again, he had an assist and 5 chances created. And 6 duels won. So I don't know who they played Uganda and Morocco won 4-0. So good international performance, but again, it's international. But it's good that he played 90 minutes because his fitness was sort of a concern for me because, I mean, last time we had to take him off and he looked absolutely tired. So maybe he's getting closer to being able to play fully for full matches and getting the fitness as sharp as possible. And we'll see what that leads to. Because again, if he could play 90 minutes, we can change things around a lot more. I mean, we are going to end up losing him soon anyway, but that right-hand side is a big dilemma. I'm a little bit more fearful of what's going to happen when they leave for AFCON on that right-hand side and to our team than I am sort of the midfield at its current state, because you're losing Maz, you're losing Diallo, and you're losing Mbeumo. And I think just solely the connection off of Diallo and Mbeumo, I don't even think we don't even have the personnel to replace that sort of link and sort of that chemistry and that dynamic. And then you're talking about, Diallo's not there. You could always use Maz, but Maz isn't going to be there either. So it's really going to have to be Delo. And on the left-hand side, maybe, possibly, we might have a minor solution in the terms of that Licha is back, and we should see him, involved in the matchday squad in Everton. He's going to be on the bench. He's not going to start. And he's probably not going to get a lot of minutes. He'll probably get 10 to start him off. But from now until the time that we lose these players, if Licha stays fit and is in form, we then have another option in terms of, well, clearly he would be going into the spot where Luke Shaw has playing. What do you do with Luke Shaw? Does Luke Shaw end up going back into left wing back and sort of battling it out with Dorgu and maybe starting ahead of Dorgu? Or does he sort of just stay as sort of a center back option? Or maybe he's used as both. So, Axe says we need to loan Endrick and Gallagher. Well, Endrick is completely off the table, so that's not happening. So you can forget about that because he's gone already. But on Conor Gallagher, I think, yeah, if Atletico agree to letting him go out on loan, because, again, we need to have something to work with. We can't just break into Atletico Madrid, tie up Conor Gallagher, put him on a plane, and bring him back to Manchester. We need Atletico to be willing to loan him out, and that's sort of part of the reason where there's a bit of a problem, because in the summer they were looking to sell him and they were not interested in any loans. And that's why he's still there, and that's why the situation they have is still there, because he ended up not going anywhere, because nobody was really wanting to buy him, and he's still in the situation of they want to move him on, or he's looking to move, and Atletico are they're sort of thinking about it, but they haven't been 100% convinced in terms of that they have not announced that he is going to be available for a loan 100%. There's murmurings, there's rumors. But yeah, I mean, I kind of view this January transfer window in a way of that if we were to do this and it went to go like this, and I don't know if this is, I don't know if it can actually happen, but if it does happen, I wouldn't mind it. If we end up, we can sign Conor Gallagher on loan. We'll have our midfielder in. Maybe we'll let Kobe go on loan at that point after that. You would assume. We loan Conor Gallagher in. We loan Manu out. Let him go play. And maybe he gets into the World Cup England squad. After that, we loan Zirkzee out. Maybe with an option to buy, maybe not. But we loan him out. And we have money. And we sign Semenyo. And we get Semenyo in. And we can use Semenyo in a couple different positions. Maybe initially, with the AFCON, maybe we have him playing in place of Mbeumo or Diallo. When they come back, we can then use him on the left-hand side as a left wing back. And we sort that position out. And then in the summer, we go for our midfield targets and sign our midfield targets. If we have the money for that, if that's possible, I think that that's not bad at all. It's just that, I'm in the dark here about how much money can we actually spend in January. We spent $200 million in the summer, and us spending the money in January, it can't affect the summer signings. Like, I'll take Semenyo, but I won't take Semenyo if Semenyo is taking a significant amount of money out of the summer transfer budget, and then they tell us, well, now we can't really get Warden, or we can't get Baleba, or we can't get Elliot Anderson because we spent a good chunk of the money for the summer in January on Semenyo. Because obviously the midfield is still a priority. But if we can do it without that happening, then we should probably just be in for that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We'd cover our midfield in terms of Conor Gallagher. We'd get in a new dynamic attacking player that's going to be able to play a couple different positions, improve the squad, is Premier League proven, and can make an instant impact. So, if I could have it my way, well, not totally my way, because my way would be we'd be getting in a midfielder or two in January, and it would be our top targets. But if I could have it go the way that I just explained, I think that's probably the best option that could possibly be realistic, is that, we can't do the midfield signings because it's just impossible. Clubs don't want to do business. The players don't want to move. We don't go and sign a 5th, 6th choice option. I don't want 5th, 6th choices when we have such a good list of the top 4 choices. So we don't do that. Semenyo is a good player, dynamic player, exciting attacking player, can add quality and value to the club immediately. He has a £65 million release clause. We were willing to pay $55 million in the summer for him. $10 million extra is not a lot of money. It can help us for the rest of the season as well. It secures a future position that we don't have to do later down the line, because we're gonna do it now. We still make a January move. We get Conor Gallagher in on loan, and then we just continue like that, and then we worry about the other stuff in the summer. All right, Ax. See you later. Enjoy the rest of the international games. And be good and stay safe. Where am I? Okay. Just gonna double check for any other sort of news that might have come out while we went live. And I might pull up one old thing from the other day or previously the other day. So let me see. Where is this? So a couple of the updates, quick round, rapid fire. I'll hit on them. Kobbie Mainoo is very interested in joining Napoli on a straight loan with no buy option or obligation to buy. He wants to succeed at Manchester United, and United have never considered letting him leave the club permanently. That was from Fabrizio Romano yesterday, which is a very good update and has always been my feeling. Again, I know it seems a bit bleak right now with his situation, but I've always said and I've always held the opinion, I don't think Ruben has given up on him. I don't think Ruben necessarily totally, like how they're trying to paint the picture that Ruben hates him in a sense and that he thinks Kobbie is shit. I don't think that's the case. And I think there's a reason why he's been working with him in the background. I don't think United are looking to ever sell Kobbie Mainoo permanently. Kobbie does not have the problems that Garnacho had, and I think, and I've always said this, Garnacho is solely not at this club for the way he's handled things and the way he acted. And that's why he's not here. I don't think it was necessarily really about talent, because he was a young guy and there was more for him to develop. It was more so his attitude and the way he handled situations and the way he reacted to things and the way he would, I guess, apply himself in the handling of situations. And I don't think Kobbie Mainoo is anywhere near that. So I don't think the club has given up on Kobbie. I don't think Ruben has given up on Kobbie, and I don't think Kobbie has given up on United. And Fabrizio obviously giving us this update, which is good because some of the stories have always made it feel like that, you know, it could potentially, maybe he just says, you know what, F it, I don't really fit in the plans, let me just go somewhere permanently and play and continue to develop my career. But he doesn't want to leave United, so I'm happy about that. And I always kind of felt like that was the story anyway, is that this is really more about the World Cup and just getting to play some more minutes. And he seems to understand also the club situation and, you know, the situation that they find themselves in. Doesn't mean he has to be happy about it, but you have to have an understanding about it. You need to be mature about these things, and I think that's what he's doing. And I don't necessarily hate him or anything, or think it's that bad if he's asking for a loan. I just think that he's looking out for himself a bit, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, you have to look out for yourself a little bit as well. There was another story that, wherever it may be, yeah, this was the update that I talked about before. Fabrizio saying Zirkzee is on Roma and West Ham shortlist for the January window, but Bruno is pushing hard internally to keep him. This is going to cause division. I mean, who's right, who's wrong, what's the right thing to do? I don't know. I think it's just a very opinionated thing. In terms of the fact of that, some people feel like it's not right to hold the player if you're not going to play him and like let him go. Some other people bring up the opinion of if he wants to go, just let him go. And they kind of talk about it in a manner of like, you know, they're being disrespectful to the club and they basically are telling them to fuck off from the club, which I don't think this is the situation we find ourselves in. Again, I think the lack of opportunities, the lack of matches we have, the squad that we have, I think it's very hard to give players the opportunities that many people feel like they should be getting based off of their talent and ability that they have. But Ruben is obviously going to do what Ruben feels is best for him and the team.
And Ruben feels that having the most options, the most choices, and as much squad depth as possible is what's best for him and the club. The players are obviously looking out for themselves. I don't think like totally selfish, but I think they would be fools to not really be looking out for themselves, and they want to be part of the World Cup and they want to play more minutes, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get that here, so they are looking for loans. And I think this is just the situation we find ourselves in for this season. And honestly, I'm getting pretty bored of it. I'm getting pretty tired of it. I want sort of this January to come and get past this, and let's just sort everything out, and so we could stop talking about it. Because I think one, it's a distraction, and two, I think it's quite a pain in the ass because I know that these players, Kobe, Manu, and Zirkzee specifically, if we were in Europe, if we were still in the Carabao Cup, we wouldn't be talking about this. There would probably be some discussion about, they're not starting and maybe they should be starters or whatever, but there wouldn't be this whole other sub-discussion about they're not getting enough minutes and they should be given more minutes. I think it's very difficult to manage this situation. And it's not as easy as people make it because where do you fit them in? I mean, if you're playing what you believe is the best team, where do you fit them in? Where's the opportunities? We're playing one match a week. We're playing 90 minutes a week. Most players, all our players, should be able to play 90 minutes a week. So it's not, they don't need to be rested. They don't need to be, this situation is quite unnormal for us because as bad as we have been, or as not as good as we have been over the years, we have always been in Europe for the most part. I mean, I think there was one season maybe we weren't, but we've always sort of been in Europe. So we've always had plenty of games to play plenty of players. And also there's always been more opportunities where a player might have not been playing, but we've occurred more injuries in the past because of more games we were playing. So we've had to use other players at different times. And sometimes players have stepped up. But another update from Romano was Carlos Baleba remains the primary midfield target for Manchester United next summer. Unless things change, Baleba is keen on joining United, and the club has a good relationship with his agents. And that's the only different one that is here. Baleba, if we could sort out a deal with Brighton, Baleba would come to us in January. He's not like Elliot Anderson, and he's not like Adam Wharton. He would literally come right now. The only thing is that Brighton, I mean, if Brighton basically tell us we don't want to talk to you, what do we do? What is there for us to force Brighton other than Baleba? If you would argue maybe acting unprofessionally, or some people would say acting unprofessionally and sort of, being a problem at Brighton and forcing Brighton into a move. But that would probably come off as highly unprofessional. It would probably throw off some United fans in terms of look at the way he's acting, and we don't really want that at United. So I don't think it's a good move for him to do that, and I don't think our club would be encouraging that. And I don't think he necessarily even wants to do that to Brighton. I think he still has, there is a level of respect there as well. So, Dax is back. Says Dorgu scores. McTominay, Hoyland, and Dorgu all scoring. Well, good for them. It's international break. Hopefully they do well. But do it in a United shirt. Because that's what matters at the end of the day. If you're a United player, do it in a United shirt, but they don't. So Dorgu comes back. Hopefully he has good performance. But I still think that there's a good player in there, and we got to rough out the edges. But his performances over the past few weeks have been really bad. I mean, the last one was better than, what he gave us the few weeks prior, but I don't know. I think he needs more time. And again, I solemnly, I watched one international game, and it was Malta versus Poland yesterday, because we actually beat Finland, which is a huge deal for us because we literally never win any games. But I'm gonna be quite honest. I don't really care about the international. Like, not in this moment in time when we're in the middle of a season. I don't really care about internationals, and in no way do I ever look at and say, "Oh my God, this player scored for his international team. Let's bring him to Manchester United because he's such a good player." I never have and never will use international games as a standard to judge a player for if they're going to do good at Manchester United and play good in English Premier League football. It's this one. Usually, when people do this, and we've seen so many examples from the World Cup and the Euros, and they go to a club and they're nowhere near as good as what they just did in the World Cup tournament. So I think just for that is very off-putting for me. I think that's very off-putting. So I will never use their international performances as some sort of a key to judge them or if they should be doing good at our club. Or if they're good enough to play for our club or play in our team or play in the Premier League. I think it's like two totally different things. It's not even close. So, Jay Percy in the Telegraph said Nottingham Forest value Elliot Anderson at more than 100 million amid interest from Manchester United and Newcastle. His contract does not contain any release clauses. There is no chance of a January sale, but summer bids are expected. So right there, off the bat, Elliot Anderson completely 110% off the table in January. So that's one target gone. Wharton is the same. He's off the table. That's two. Baleba has to be three, but only not because of us, not because we wouldn't pay the money, and not because Baleba doesn't want to come, but because Brighton just literally refused to do business in January. So that's three. So yeah, I mean, it just looks like the midfield in January is probably a no-go, unless they decide to go for João Gomez. But I don't think they're actually going to go through with that. It seems like they're very reluctant to do that, and they don't feel very strongly about that. It's just that he is an option, if so need be. So Semenyo's release clause, now I got the information, includes a 60 million guaranteed and 5 million in add-ons. The clause will drop next summer, but not below 50 million. So we could get him not below 50 million, what is that, 55 million? It's only a 5 million difference. So I don't know, the Semenyo one I think we got to keep an eye on. I mean, he did reject 50 million moves to United and Tottenham, and instead agreed to sign a new deal that included a 65 million release clause, which can be activated in January. So we got to see how that one develops. I think there's going to be a lot more going into that going forward. I mean, technically, in terms of the midfield, I mean, you could get João Gomez and then fix the midfield more in the summer. In terms of, I mean, if Casemiro doesn't get a contract extension or re-sign with the club at a lower wage, he's out. Some people still feel like there might be question marks over Bruno, and they feel like maybe Bruno is not guaranteed to stay and maybe he leaves. But and there's also question marks over Ugarte as well. So you might have to sign 2 to 3 actual midfielders. Maybe the midfield project is bigger than maybe we're thinking it is. So in actuality, I mean, there could always be a possibility. You sign João Gomez, January, £44 million. Get him in now. We go into the summer, and either we sign one of Baleba, Elliott Anderson, or Adam Wharton, or maybe you sign 2. But I feel like then that's a lot of money being spent on the midfield, and it's a lot of changes in the midfield. So I wouldn't expect it to go swimmingly well immediately. But yeah, maybe we could do something like that as well. I think all possibilities for not possibilities, but paths are open in January. So yeah, Storgu has scored for Denmark. It makes it 2-2 versus Scotland. The United versus ex-United. Let me see this goal he scored. That was a good goal. Good take. Good take. Inside of his left foot. Would like to see you do that for United, though. You know? A lot of his shots, I mean, he's in the same position. In the box. But a lot of his shots have been really crap for us, yeah? Maybe a Premier League goalkeeper would save that. Maybe they would have had a better reaction. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. There's a defender there as well. Missed the ball. But yeah, listen, I'm gonna get out of here. It's been a good show, good update. We haven't been live for the past few days, so it was good to get back again. You know, the international break is just very boring, and we need to get back into the flow of just matches, match recaps, updates, seeing how the season's unfolding. Just provides a better platform to have discussion and stuff like that. So the next live that we will do will be, and I will tell you right now when it is. Let me just pull up sort of the chart, the calendar. Where is it? Here it is. The next one we will do will be on Thursday. It's gonna be a Thursday. At 7:30 p.m. UK time, we will be going live. So Thursday, 7:30 p.m. UK time, we will be going live. And then that'll bring us closer, you know, the internationals will be done. That'll bring us closer to United coming back, probably some better stories. You know, if something interesting breaks, which it probably won't, but if something interesting breaks, potentially maybe we go live tomorrow early, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. No, sorry. 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. UK, but don't bank on it. But there might be maybe a surprise. But the one for sure, definitely, that's going to happen is Thursday. Thursday, 7:30 p.m. UK time. We will be back live. Everybody be good. Stay safe. Take care. Thank you for getting involved in the chat. Thank you for smashing the like button. If you're watching this after it's live, make sure you smash the like button. Get involved in the comments underneath the video. Give us your thoughts, opinions. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification bell icon. And be ready for Thursday when we will be back. Other than that, everybody take care. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of sort of the international games, whatever's left of them. Sene Clement. Oh yeah, just real quick. I mean, Sene Lemons had his debut today for the Belgium side. He kept a clean sheet. They played against Liechtenstein, but Belgium won 7-0. And Lemons kept a clean sheet on his international debut, so good for him. I'm sure he's going to feel very happy and very proud of himself. And he's going to bring that positivity back to Manchester United. So you know that's all good stuff. As long as we walk out of here with players performing decently well, even though I don't really think there's a correlation to that. But if they play well on international and no injuries, then it's very good for us. But yeah, we will be back Thursday. Everybody take care. Be good. Catch you on the next one. Stay safe until then.